Welcome to the Boundary Space. Hi there, how are you, my friend? I hope you're having a great moment, wherever it is, day, night, spring, fall, winter, summer. Thank you so much for pressing play and tuning in. This is the URC Space, a place where we unbox our lives, one blank space at a time. My name is Nash at Nash Speaks Live, wherever you enjoy social media, and I am so glad to have you in conversation here with me today. I should actually change that intro and say that this is the podcast where we headbutt each other one blank space at a time. Phoenix literally rammed into my head right before coming to record. And thankfully, I had my pre-record tea, sitting in a very safe place, so he couldn't ram that over. My goodness, if hot got on him, I don't know I don't even know if I would be able to come in the studio today, but here we are. We are here, and I'm very excited about our episode because we're going to be talking about boundaries. And Mr. Phoenix here doesn't understand boundaries, and that's okay. He doesn't really need to understand boundaries. I gave you a little bit more of his story earlier this season, and I really want him to just feel like he doesn't need to kind of, hide himself and cower away from just expressing what he wants to be and who he wants to be. And that's essentially a dog who just wants to feel loved. And so, he and I really, I telling you, it is literally a match. Like, it is like the perfect match. Unlike these dating apps out there in these streets, but we won't go there today now, will we? Maybe just a little bit, because there will be some relevant information here on the show. So Phoenix is here with me right here on my lap in the studio. And, this week, speaking of, I said, pre-record tea when I do this, like, vocal, I don't know if that's too much, but, before I come into the studio, I'd like to not speak for a certain amount of time. And I do some vocal exercises and just to make sure that my voice is nice and smooth. And then I drink this tea with ginger and a lot of other stuff in it. It just makes my voice sound good. And but I am a tea drinker by default. I love tea. And everyone who's close to me knows that I am Mr. Tea-aholic. But I was going to say this week, but actually it's been like the past couple of weeks, really, probably the past month, I have become a very avid coffee drinker. The past month has been filled with a lot of coffee and a lot of book writing. I am just, I can't even put it into words, really, what's happening with this book. It's taking a life of its own, and it is being dissected, and I can't say too much right now, but all I'm saying is I'm very excited that very soon there will be something for you to hear about something that I may or may not be working on and using a lot of coffee to help me complete. So with all that said, that was a boundary. See, I just gave you a spoiler, but I didn't let you all the way in. See where I'm going with the show? So that was a boundary. And today's episode is I Said No. Saying no can be a very uncomfortable thing, and it can be a very hard thing, something that I have to be intentional about, and I have to grow in this for sure. I am no subject matter expert. Like I said on Instagram, I am not a subject matter expert on boundaries, but I just felt like this is where, the Lord was just leading for the next conversation to go. I just did a little research on boundaries, and I use positivepsychology.com as one of the resources. So I will leave a link to the exact landing page where I dug up some resources and unearthed just some interesting perspectives on boundaries. And I will leave that for you to kind of enjoy in your own free time. I'm not going to be reading through the whole thing. My goodness, there's a lot of information there. But we will get into a little bit on how to create healthy boundaries And let's just see how far we get today. We may extend this for another week or maybe another couple weeks. I think boundaries is something that I'm just in my recent life am realizing how I need to communicate them, communicating expectations, communicating standards, communicating just what I will allow and what I won't allow. And I think for a lot of my life, the boundaries that I had or didn't have just were not serving me the best. And I had to really do a deep introspection of just everything and really just see like, okay, like would it best serve me if I started communicating this or I started communicating that? For example, for a lot of years, and I have no idea why I allowed this. I'm pretty sure if I was like Mandisa, hey Mandisa, if I had like a Laura Williams with me here in the studio, right, Phoenix? If we had a clinical licensed psychologist, they would probably be able to help me unbox why I did this. But for a lot of years, I would, if there was something that I bought and it just didn't work out for me or I didn't like it, I would just say, okay, I guess I'm stuck with it. I wouldn't return it. I wouldn't try to get a refund. I wouldn't try to give feedback on it. I just like, okay, I guess I'm just stuck with it. Oh, and the worst one. And I never understood why I just wouldn't. I just accepted whatever was given to me. And then I was like, wait a minute, hold on. I'm like paying for stuff and then like not using it, but thinking that I just have to deal with it. And I was like, oh no. We are turning this around. So I am like the return king right now. Actually, I just had to wind up returning a new harness that I got for Phoenix because it wasn't working out. A new water dispenser for his crate that's not working out. I'm just like, nope, not keeping this. Nope, it's not serving me. And so I think we grow into, okay, wow, this isn't really serving me. I'm understanding now that me not returning this means that I am saying I'm willing to accept something that doesn't serve me. I need to communicate now that I do not accept that. And so I take my black behind to wherever it is and I return it. So that is, that's just one area in which I'm growing. But I love this quote by Harriet Lerner that says, an intimate relationship is one in which neither party silences, sacrifices, or betrays the self, and each party expresses strength and vulnerability, weakness and competence in a balanced way. Harriet, I couldn't agree more with you. And setting boundaries, as I definitely would say, is one of the things that is most essential. If we really want to just have a total optimal well-being in all aspects, spiritually, physically, mentally, emotionally, in every compartment that we have our lives expressed, we need to have boundaries with them too. And so it's something that I'm ever learning. Like I shared with you about my stupid o'clock schedule, which I've had to modify since I've shared with you. But people know that after 7 p.m., I'm not going to be in a tennis match exchange with you on the phone. Or if you want to talk to me, during a certain part during the day, I might not be available to you. And communicating that, not out of like, I can't be on your schedule or you can't be on my schedule, but I am just in a season right now where I am just undoubtedly focused in getting this first book finished. There you go. There's a spoiler. And so now that I'm trying to get this first one out, I just understand that I can't be as social as I once was. I don't really have a lot of, I don't want to say quote unquote free time because it is a sacrificial season for me. But one that I'm very excited about because I know that it's going to reap great dividends. But if I wanted, and I used to be, oh my gosh, I used to be an overwhelmingly people pleaser. I used to want to just jump through hoops for people. I never wanted people to be mad with me. I never wanted people to be upset with me. So if you said, hey, Nash, can I call you at 8:00? There would have been a point in time where I would have said, yeah, you can call me at 8. And I would have just let you talk until you got whatever out that you wanted to get out. And then I would, the alarm would go off at stupid o'clock in the morning, and I'm like struggling, and I don't have the coffee, and I don't have the writing flow and the energy that I normally would have. Whereas now it's like, if you call me or if you text me and say, hey, can I call you 8 o'clock? I'm just like, I think, would it be possible for us to have an 8 o'clock conversation like on this day, or are you flexible with the timing? Because that doesn't work for my schedule. And just being very clear with that, that just doesn't work for my schedule. So creating healthy boundaries, it can be empowering. And for me, it is empowering. Like, yeah, I'm taking my life back, taking it back. I'm taking it back. Taking back my life. What was that? Joss Stone, You Had Me. I remember that cut when I was in 7th grade. The British girl that sounds like a black woman. Oh God, her voice is amazing. Amazing. But yeah, it really is empowering. And we can recognize that, we need to enforce limits. We have to enforce limits in our exchanges with one another, or it's just going to be you know what I mean? Like, it's just not going to be fun. People are just going to run over you, and you're going to be depleted, and that's no fun in that. First and foremost, we've got to protect our self-esteem, and we have to maintain self-respect. And with that, we then get to enjoy healthy relationships on our terms. Now, I know it can be a little bit difficult because there are people, and I've had these interactions where, I interact with someone and they want things done on their terms, their way, etc. And there's no flexibility. It is some give and take. I recently got a message and, essentially was saying, hey, like, is there any way that we can, just link up? And the person who sent the message said, and I know I need to be on your schedule. Well, I'm getting ready to reply back and say, well, you don't have to be on my schedule because I'm also flexible here. Where can we meet in the middle? So it is give and take, but I like how, when we communicate our boundaries, we communicate our limits, it does boost. I don't want to say boost, but it really does feel like you are just having control of your life again versus just allowing other people to have control of your life and just do whatever it is they want. And unhealthy boundaries can really cause emotional pain that can lead to just a host of issues like dependency. It can lead to depression. It can lead to anxiety. It can even lead to stress-induced physical illness. Now, listen, you are not going to find my black behind caught up in somebody's ER, emergency room, hospital bed, whatever, because I couldn't tell them folk out in the street, no. No. And I know I'm only 29, but listen, I have lived enough life to know that is something I can no longer or will accept or tolerate. I just will not accept that at all. Nope. No, ma'am. No, sir. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. I said no. And I mean, that can be challenging. Like Mandisa, I remembered, I was talking to Vel, and Vel and I were, we were reminiscing on the old days, Disa, back when, Twitter was the thing, which I guess it was the thing because it was the only one that survived. I don't know. There was some kind of social media, something. I saw something on Instagram. I didn't really pay attention. Y'all know I don't watch the news like that, but, Vel and I were talking about how back in the day, you would tweet us all the time. We would tweet you all the time and etc. And we've noticed that, you don't really use Twitter as often as you used to with us. And this is not like we're not reverse psychologying you, Mandisa. But I love what you said on the last episode of your show. You said, and don't forget to follow us on Twitter and Instagram. And you gave Laura's handle, and then you gave your handle. And then you said, and I even have limits on that, y'all, within moderation. And so when you said that, I was like, oh my gosh, that is a barrier. That is a line in the sand that she's drawn, that I will communicate and I will interact on social media, but this is kind of the box in which I stay in. And I absolutely love that. I can do nothing but respect that. So I love how you share that on your show. And, like I said, all those kind of just negative things that can come along with not having the proper barriers in place, the proper boundaries in place. There's that one, verse in Proverbs that says, guard your heart above all else, for out of it flows the issues of life. Guard your heart above all else, for out of it flows the issues of life. Guarding our hearts can be one of those things that's just like, it's very tricky, especially when you've come from just different backgrounds, different upbringings. I just know for me, I always wanted I formerly, because I'm not like this anymore, but at one point in my life, I always just wanted to be the one that showed you my heart, and I bore it for you. And it was almost like I was trying to convince you that I'm lovable and that you would want to love me. And that just stemmed just from some issues that I had to work through with abandonment and some other things. But it was like I wanted to put on a parade for you and say, here's my heart. It's so pure. It's so open. It's so ready to love. It's full of love. How are you? Can you love me? And I am I look back on that. I'm like, oh my gosh, that was probably the worst thing I could have ever done. Because I'm just expensing myself and just getting let down. Guard your heart. I'm like, yes, Lord, the word of God is what I should have always been holding on to, and guarding my heart is where I should have always been. And I'm ever navigating this. And I'll tell you, when I was working on ships, and I don't know if I shared this with you in great detail last season here on the show, but, as this book is ever evolving and this manuscript is ever evolving, I am just really sharing a lot of things that no one ever knew about me working on ships. One of them being how private I was and how just isolated I allowed myself to be from others. I participated in situationships that would, I think, still have served me as coming off as normal and not a loner, not someone who just didn't want to be a part of the group. So, and when I say situationships, I'm not talking about in a romantic setting. I'm talking in professional exchanges and the sort of more so less, that I would participate. I was, okay, yeah, we're going out for dinner here. Okay, yeah, I'll come. Or we're all going together to do this, and we're going to go to the beach and we're going to go surfing. Okay, I'll join. So in those kind of professional and social settings, I would do that. But at the end of the day, I never really wanted anyone to know about me because, one, I just felt like the nature of the environment was so transient. And, kind of the scripture says, don't cast your pearls before swine. I didn't feel like I needed to invest myself in people who I had a feeling I would never see again or ever be in communication with again. And pretty much what I have lived through, I'm like, yep, I don't speak to these people. I shouldn't say these people. That sounds really bad. I don't speak to those with whom I was in former close contact with in professional settings, simply because I just don't. I don't know, maybe that's just a barrier that everyone's got in place, but I just don't communicate with them as much as I thought that I would. And that's okay. Life goes on, we grow, we're ever evolving. But I never wanted anyone to really know the real truth about I didn't meet my dad till I was almost 20. I was raised by a single mom, and there's nothing wrong with being raised by a single mom and not meeting your dad till you're almost 20. But I just felt like that was information that someone who I may or may not see again in life, probably didn't deserve to really know at that point in my life. Now I'm at a point where it's I'm telling you here on the podcast that that's a reality of, my life. And I'm going to be honest. That's just something I don't mind. It's something I don't mind people knowing and knowing about. But, when we're looking at boundaries and what they actually are, at the nitty gritty, according to outofthefog.net, boundaries are guidelines, rules, or limits that a person creates to identify for themselves what are reasonable, safe, and permissible ways for other people to behave around them, and how they will respond when someone steps outside those limits. Now, I was known for using that line, Nene. I said what I said. Nope. Yep. Nope. That's not what I'm doing. That's not what we're going to do today. And just being very clear about what I want to communicate. And I remember this one time I was dating this one girl, and dang, I don't even know what happened. Something happened, and I shared the story with another friend, and my friend was like, "Oh, you crossed a barrier that she never communicated to you." Oh, or a boundary that she never communicated to you. And then that's when I was like, "Hey, did I cross a boundary that you never communicated? Like, is there something? There's something that's, I mean, like, there are people like we're really good actors here in the world, and especially on the dating scene. You got folk out in the street here, some of these women are like, "Oh my gosh, yeah, like I had such a good time. I would love to go out again. I would love to do." And then, you're like, "Hey, so, what, let's do this." And then all of a sudden, all these, preposterous excuses start arising. And then it's like, you never communicated that in the first interaction that there was something that you didn't think was really a connection. And so you need to work on communicating that. Like, you need to work on your communication, and that's not somebody I want to be with anyway. And I call people, yes, thank you, Kat Harris, the Refined Woman at the Refined Collective podcast. When you told that story about the guy that you were dating, and then he ghosted you, and then the two of you happened to live in the same condo or the same building, and you just walked up to him and was like, "Okay, so you ghosted me, but then you think that like I'm not going to see you again and I'm just going to ignore you." He's like, "No, you owe me an apology." Listen, I'm the same way. I will call you out and say, "You know what? You wasting my time. I'm wasting your time. Let's just go ahead and just shut this down right here." Communicate effectively. And I think the whole boundary building and crafting, it's all intertwined and back into just like the communication and how we communicate. And I had to grow in really becoming just a better communicator today than I was 5 years ago. And I'm praying to God that I will even be a better communicator 5 years from now. So the easiest way to think about a boundary is a property line. We know kind of where the line starts, where the line ends, and what's yours and what's someone else's. And we all have seen, those no trespassing signs. I see them when I walk Phoenix, like, "Don't trespass, beware, dog," all this stuff. And those send a clear message that, if you violate that boundary, there's going to be a consequence. If you cross that line that says beware of dog, no trespassing, and your cheeks get a little bite in them, listen, you gonna have to get them cheeks bit. That's it. I mean, you didn't pay attention to the communication that said there's a line here, there's a boundary here. Don't go any further. And it's easy to understand that sort of boundary because when you're walking by a home or you're walking by a building or an empty parking lot or whatever it may be, and you see that no trespassing sign, like it's very clear. This is not where I need to be going. However, personal boundaries, they can be a little bit more dicey because it's not like I have a no trespassing sign on my forehead tattooed. Maybe you do. And if you do, send me a picture of it. I'd love to see it. But that's not the case for a lot of us. And so personal boundaries can be a little bit harder to define. The lines are invisible. They can change. And they are unique to each and every person. And so it never there is not a one size fits all. There never, ever will be a one size fits all. So we're just going to pause right there for this week. And we're going to pick this up next week where we're going to continue talking about personal boundaries, emotional boundaries, and intellectual boundaries, and really unboxing what each of those are. What do each of those look like in a healthy person? What do those look like in an unhealthy person? How we can really start building the foundation and really curating our communication style with all of this. And so I hope you will join me and Phoenix for next week where we unbox that and a little bit more. But until we resume our conversations, I want you to always remember, you are cubed. Stay free, my friend, and Phoenix and I, we will chat with you next week.